Hello my friends, how are you today? I hope you guys are good. And we are back with our reading of the Spirit's book. We stopped at chapter 4, continuation, and the topic of today is the fate of children after death. And we are at question 197. So the question is the spirit of a child who dies very young as advanced as that of an adult? And then the spirit answers, sometimes much more. So because the child may have had more existences and may have therefore acquired more experiences, especially if he or she has progressed. Then there is a question that follows. Then can the spirit of a child be more evolved than that of its parent? Answer. That is very frequently the case. Haven't you yourself often witnessed it? Question 198. Does the spirit of a child who dies very young without having done any evil belong to the higher degrees? Answer. If such a child has done nothing evil, it has also done nothing good. Does God not relieve such a spirit of the trials it must undergo? If it is pure, it is not because it was a child, but because it was already advanced. Question 199. Why is life so often cut short in childhood? Answer. The length of a child's life can be, for its spirit, the remainder of a former life that had been cut short before its due term. Moreover, the death of a child is often a trial or an expiation for the parents. Question that follows. What becomes of the spirit of a child who dies very young? Answer. It begins a new existence. And then Kardec makes a note under it saying, if humans had only one life to live, and if afterwards their fate were sealed for all eternity, why would half the human species who die while very young deserve to enjoy eternal bliss without having lived a full life of effort? And by what right would they be exempt from the oft so painful conditions imposed on the other half? Such an order of things could not be in accord with the justice of God. Through reincarnation, absolute justice is the same for all. The future belongs to all, without exception and without favoritism, and those who arrive last will have only themselves to blame. Individuals must have the merit of their actions, for which they are justly responsible. Moreover, it is unreasonable to consider childhood as a state of innocence. Do we not see children endowed with the worst instincts at an age at which education could not have yet exerted its influence? What about those who seem to be born cunning, deceitful, and treacherous, who even harbor instincts for thieving and murder, in spite of the good example surrounding them? Criminal law absolves them when they commit misdeeds by considering them to have acted without discernment, driven more by instinct than deliberate intent. But where do such instincts come from, which differ so widely among children of the same age, reared under the same conditions and subject to the same influences? Where does such precocious wickedness come from, if not from the imperfect nature of the spirit, since education has nothing to do with it? Those who are really wicked have progressed less and must therefore suffer the consequences of not of their acts during their present childhood, but of their previous lives. It is thus that the law is the same for all, and that the justice of God extends to all. Gender and spirits. That's the next topic. Question 200. Are spirits male and female? Answer. not as you understand it, because sex depends on organic composition. Love and sympathy exist among spirits, but they are based on the affinity of sentiments. Question 201. Can a spirit who has animated the body of a man animate the body of a woman in a new existence and vice versa? Answer: yes, since the same spirit can animate both male and female bodies. Question 202. When we are spirits, do we have a preference as to whether we will incarnate into a male or female body? Answer: it matters little to a spirit. It depends on the trials it must undergo. And then there's a note from Kardec. Because they are sexless, spirits can incarnate as either men or women. Since they must progress in every way, each sex, like each social position, offers them special trials, duties, and new opportunities to acquire experience. The one who always incarnated as a man would only know what men know. Next topic, kinship's affiliation. Question 203. Do parents transmit a portion of their soul to the children, or do they give them only animal life, to which a new soul afterwards add the moral life? Answer: only animal life, since the soul is indivisible. Draft parents may have intelligent children and vice versa. Question 204. Since we have had many existences, does kinship go back to previous ones? Answer: it could not be otherwise. The succession of corporeal lives establishes ties among spirits dating back to former existences. Such frequently gives rise to the affinity between you and some spirits who you might think are strangers. Question 205. According to certain individuals, the doctrine of reincarnation appears to destroy family ties by carrying them back to previous lives. And then the answer is, instead of destroying them, it extends them. Since kinships may be based on previous affections, the ties that unite members of the same family are less precarious. Moreover, reincarnation broadens the duties of fraternity, because your neighbor or your servant may be a spirit who was formerly related to you by blood. Question that follows. It does, however, diminish the importance that some attach to their familial affiliation, because their father may be a spirit who had previously belonged to a different race, or who had occupied a much different social position. Answer from the spirit: that is true, but such importance is founded on pride. What most people honor in their ancestors are title, class, and fortune. They would blush if they had had an honest shoemaker for a grandfather, but would boast if they had descended from a debauchee or of noble birth. No matter what people say or do, they are not being what they are, for God does not regulate the laws of nature according to their vanity. Question 206. Since there may be no actual affiliation among the spirits of particular families' descendants, would it be foolish for the members to honor their ancestors? Answer: assuredly not, because they should feel happy belonging to a family in which more highly evolved spirits have incarnated. Although spirits do not proceed from one another, they have no less affection for those who are linked to them by family ties, for they are often attracted to this or that family because of affinities or previous connections. You may be very sure that the spirits of your ancestors do not feel honored at all with the respect you render them out of pride. Their merits do not benefit you except as you strive to follow their moral example. Only in that way can your memories not only be pleasant but even useful to them. Next topic, physical and moral likeness. Question 107. Parents almost always transmit a physical likeness to their children. Do they also transmit a moral likeness? Answer. No, because their souls or spirits are different. The body proceeds from the body, but the spirit does not proceed from the spirit. There is no other link than blood kinship among descendants. Question that follows this answer. Where does the moral likeness that sometimes exists between parents and children come from? Answer. They are sympathetic. And by sympathetic, Kardec makes a note saying that sympathetic, in harmony with one's tastes, mood, or disposition, congenial, a sympathetic companion. Now, continue. They are sympathetic. They are sympathetic spirits attracted by similarities of inclination. Question 208. Don't the spirits of the parents exert an influence on their children after birth? Answer. A very great influence, because, as we have already said, spirits should aid in one another's progress. As it is, the spirits of the parents have the mission of developing their children through education. This is a task for them. If they fail to perform it, they will be guilty. Question 209. Why is it that good and virtuous parents sometimes have wicked children? In other words, why don't the good qualities of the parents always, out of affinity, attract good spirits as their children? Answer. Wicked spirits may ask for good parents in the hope that their counsels will guide them along the better path. God often grants their wish. Question 210. Through their thoughts and prayers, can parents attract the good spirits instead of an imperfect one to indwell the body of their child? Answer. No. They can, however, improve the spirit of the child to whom they have given birth and whom has been entrusted to them. It is their duty. Ill-natured children are a trial for their parents. Question 211. Where does the likeness of character come from, which so often exists among siblings, especially between twins? Answer. They are sympathetic spirits who are attracted by similar sentiments and who are happy to be together. Question 212. In children whose bodies were born joined and who have some of their organs in common, are there two spirits, that is, two souls? Answer. Yes, but their resemblance often makes them seem to you as though there is only one. Question 213. But if spirits incarnate as twins out of sympathy, and then the part of sympathy, he makes a note, Kardec makes a note, sympathy, harmony or agreement in feeling, as between persons or on the part of one person with respect to another. The harmony of feeling existing between persons of like tastes or opinion, or of congenial dispositions, but if spirits incarnate as twins out of sympathy, where does the aversion come from that may sometimes be noted between them? Answer. It is not a rule that twins must be sympathetic spirits. Evil spirits may desire to struggle together on the stage of life. Question 214. What are we to think of the stories of children fighting in their mother's womb? Answer. Figure speech. In order to portray their hatred as ingrained, it is figuratively set before birth. Humans do not make sufficient allowance for images that are intended to be merely poetic. Question 215. Where does the distinctive character that we observe in culture come from? Answer. Like humans, spirits also form families through similarities in tendencies. The purity of such tendencies depends on how evolved the spirits are. Additionally, cultures are large families where sympathetic spirits congregate, and the tendency that leads members of these families to congregate is the source of the individual likenesses that exist within the distinctive character of each culture. Do you think that good and humane spirits would seek to live among unrefined and cruel people? No. Spirits are attracted to like-minded cultures, just as they are attracted to like-minded individuals. They look for their own group. Question 216. In their new lives, do individuals retain any traces of their moral character from former lives? Answer: yes, that can happen. However, as spirits evolve, they change and their social position may change as well. If a master becomes a slave, his tastes will be very different, and it will be difficult for you to recognize him. Since a spirit is the same spirit in its various incarnations, its manifestations can have certain likenesses from one to the next. However, these will be modified through the customs of its new position until a notable improvement has completely changed its character. For example, the one who was proud and cruel can become humble and humane if it has repented. Now, question 217. During their different incarnations, do individuals retain any vestiges of their physical character from previous lives? Answer: the body is destroyed and a new one has no connection with the old. Nevertheless, the spirit is reflected in the body. Although the body is only matter, it is molded by the spirit's qualities, which impress it with a certain character that is mainly visible in the face. For this reason, the eyes have been rightly described as the mirror of the soul, which means that the face most particularly reflects the soul. Thus, it may be that individuals who are extremely unattractive physically can nevertheless project something pleasant if they're good, mindful, and humane spirits. On the other hand, there are very attractive faces that awaken nothing in you. You might even find them repulsive. How can you believe that only perfect bodies house high-order spirits when every day you encounter moral individuals with deformed bodies? Although there may be no pronounced physical likeness, a similarity of tastes and tendencies can still pass on what we call an air of familiarity. And then there is a note from Kardec. The body that clothes a soul in a new incarnation does not necessarily have any relation to the previous one, since it can proceed from a very different origin. It would therefore be absurd to conclude that a succession of lives is connected by a likeness that is strictly fortuitous. Nevertheless, a spirit's qualities almost always modify the organs that serve for its manifestation, impressing a distinctive stamp on the face and even on the general matter. Thus, inside the humblest envelope, one might find expressions of greatness and nobility of spirit, while under the garment of a wealthy person, one can often find vulgarity and dishonor. Some persons who have risen from the lowest positions acquire the habits of and manners of high society with hardly any effort. They seem to have returned from their rightful element, but others, in spite of their birth and education, always feel out of place there. How can this fact be explained explained except as a reflection of what the spirit was in former lives. Next topic, innate ideas. Question 218. Does an incarnate spirit preserve any trace of the perceptions it had and the knowledge it acquired in its previous lives? Answer. A vague memory remains, giving the incarnate spirit what you call innate ideas. Question that follows. Then the theory of innate ideas is not just a myth? Answer. No, because the knowledge acquired in each existence is not lost. When a spirit is free of matter, it always recalls such knowledge. While incarnate, it may forget it partially and temporarily, but the intuition that remains helps it to advance. Without it, it would always have to start over. Instead, with each new existence, the spirit starts from the point at which it had finished the preceding one. Question that follows. Then, isn't there a very close connection between two successive existences? Answer. Not always as close as you might think, because the conditions of the two lives are often very different. Also, the spirit may have progressed in the interval between them. Question 219. What is the origin of the extraordinary abilities of those individuals who, without any previous learning, seem to have an intuition about certain areas of knowledge, such as languages, mathematics, etc.? Answer. A memory of the past and the soul's previous progress, of which it now has no awareness. Where else could such abilities have come from? Bodies change, but the spirit does not. It merely changes its garment. Question 220. In changing bodies, can spirits lose certain intellectual faculties? For example, could they cease to have a taste for the arts? Answer. Yes, if they dishonored that faculty or made a bad use of it. Moreover, a faculty may remain dormant throughout an entire existence because the spirit wishes to exercise an unrelated one. In that case, it remains latent but reappears later. Question 221. Are the instinctive sentiment of the existence of God and the presentiment of the future life due to a retrospective memory that humans have even in the primitive state? Answer. They are a memory they have retained of what they knew as spirits before incarnating, but pride often stifles this sentiment. Question that follows. Is it the same memory to which are owed certain beliefs related to the Spiritist doctrine and which are found in all cultures? Answer. This doctrine is as old as the world. That is why we find it everywhere. Proof that it is true. Since it preserves an intuition of its spirit state, the incarnate spirit possesses an instinctive awareness of the invisible world. This awareness, however, is frequently distorted by prejudices, as well as by superstition arising from ignorance. Guys, we stay here. I hope you have liked. I'll leave you with a big kiss. God bless you all. See you next time. Bye-bye.